The desert sun blazed high above the rugged horizon, burning its orange fire against the sky as the cowboy, Samuel Hart, guided his faithful black horse, Shadow, along a trail few dared to tread. The land stretched endlessly before him, filled with towering saguaro cacti and dry winds that whispered secrets of lives, lost to the unforgiving wild. Samuel had ridden across countless miles with Shadow, his trusted companion since the days of his youth. This was no ordinary horse. It was a bond forged in dust and danger, through cattle drives, gunfights, and lonely nights when the stars were the only audience to a cowboy's song. To Samuel, Shadow was not just a horse. He was family. That fateful evening, as shadows lengthened and the cliffs turned blood red, Samuel paused near a sparse patch of brush to let Shadow drink from a shallow pool. The desert was silent, except for the gentle creak of saddle leather and the wind brushing the grass. Then it happened, a sudden strike from the dust. Faster than Samuel's eyes could follow, a rattlesnake, coiled and ready, lashed out at Shadow's foreleg. The horse screamed in pain, rearing back before collapsing onto the hard desert floor. "Shadow!" Samuel's voice cracked as he leapt to his companion's side. His calloused hands trembled as he pressed them against the wound, trying to stop the venom's spread. But the swelling had already begun. The great black horse lay breathing heavily, eyes wide with fear and pain, muscles trembling beneath its sleek coat. Samuel felt helpless, his heart pounding like a war drum in his chest. All the battles he had fought, all the men he had faced with pistols drawn, and yet nothing had ever broken him like this. Watching his partner, his brother in spirit, suffer at the fangs of the desert's cruelest creature. The rattlesnake slithered away into the shadows, leaving behind only its venom and the sound of a cowboy's breaking heart. Samuel lowered his hat, tears welling in his eyes, staining the dry dust beneath him. He whispered prayers, curses, and promises all at once, holding Shadow's head in his lap, unable to accept the possibility of losing him. The desert around him seemed to close in. He was miles from the nearest town, and no doctor could ride out here in time. Samuel buried his face into Shadow's mane, feeling the sweat and dust that told the story of their shared miles. And for the first time in years, the hardened cowboy wept. The sun began to dip lower, casting long fingers of shadow across the land. When Samuel heard a sound, the soft rustle of footsteps, light yet deliberate, he raised his head, hand instinctively reaching for the revolver at his side, but froze when he saw her. An Apache woman stepped from the desert brush, her presence as natural as the wind itself. She wore buckskin with fringes swaying gently, her hair braided with beads that caught the last glimmer of sunlight. Her gaze was steady, wise, and unafraid. She looked not at Samuel, but at Shadow, and then back at the cowboy whose tears still clung to his dusty face. "You cry for your horse," she said softly, her voice carrying the weight of both sorrow and strength. "That means your spirit has not forgotten the sacred bond between man and beast." Samuel wiped his face roughly, embarrassed to be seen broken, but too shattered to deny the truth. "He's dying," he choked out. "Snake got him. There ain't nothing I can do." The woman stepped closer, kneeling beside the stricken horse with calm, practiced movements. She placed a hand gently on Shadow's trembling body, her eyes closing as though she could feel the pulse of life within. Samuel watched her, torn between desperation and disbelief, as the desert winds hushed, as if the land itself was listening. And then, with the calm certainty of one who carried generations of knowledge, she spoke words that would change everything. "There is something we can do." The cowboy's breath caught in his throat, his hope fragile as a candle flame in the storm. He stared at the Apache woman as though she were a vision conjured from his own despair. She opened a pouch tied at her waist and brought out herbs, roots, and a small stone blade worn smooth with use. Samuel, though skeptical, dared not interfere. Shadow's life was slipping away with each passing moment, and the stranger's calm was the only light in his darkness. The woman began by cutting gently at the swollen bite, her hands steady, her face serene. She pressed the herbs into the wound, chanting softly in her native tongue. Her words rolled like the wind across the canyon walls, a song both haunting and beautiful, as though calling the spirit of the earth itself to lend its strength. Samuel held Shadow's head, whispering encouragement, his rough voice cracking with every word. He felt useless, yet the Apache woman's resolve gave him the courage to hope. As minutes turned to an eternity, Samuel thought of every memory tied to his horse. The day he first broke shadow as a fiery colt, the nights they crossed rivers under starlight, the dangers they faced together when bullets whizzed past on lawless trails. His tears soaked into Shadow's mane, and for once, Samuel did not hide them. The woman finally looked up, her dark eyes reflecting the fire of the setting sun. "The venom fights hard," she said, "but so does your horse. He has a strong spirit." She pressed her hand to Samuel's chest. "But he draws strength from you. Do not let him see only your sorrow. Let him hear your will." Samuel's jaw clenched. He leaned close to Shadow's ear and spoke with the voice of a man who refused to surrender. "You hold on now, boy. We've crossed rivers, storms, and gunfire together. You ain't leaving me in this desert. You hear? You ain't leaving me." Hours stretched, the desert night descending with its chill, stars igniting above like lanterns in the dark. Samuel kept vigil, his hand never leaving Shadow's side, while the woman tended tirelessly. Finally, just as dawn's first light spilled over the red cliffs, Shadow stirred. His ears twitched. His eyes blinked open, and though weak, he managed to lift his head. Samuel's heart leapt, a cry breaking from his lips that was part laughter, part sob. "That's it, boy. That's it!" He looked at the Apache woman, his voice rough but filled with gratitude. "You saved him. You saved us both." The woman shook her head gently. "No, the desert takes and the desert gives. I only reminded you of what was already within. The bond between you and your horse. That is stronger than any venom." Samuel looked at her, humbled beyond words, realizing he had just witnessed something sacred, something greater than himself. He would carry her words for the rest of his life. As the sun rose and Shadow stood shakily but alive, Samuel knew the story of this night would live forever in his heart. And as he rode on, the memory of the Apache woman's wisdom followed him like the wind, whispering of strength, spirit, and the unbreakable bond between man and beast. And folks, that's the tale of the cowboy who wept when his horse was bitten by a snake, until an Apache woman's words turned despair into hope. Stories like this remind us that the Wild West wasn't just about gunfights and gold. It was about the bonds that carried people through the harshest of trials. If you felt the power of this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. More tales of courage, resilience, and the untamed frontier await you here on Wild West Tales. Join us and keep the spirit of the West alive. Would you like me to also break this into a voiceover style? Script, shorter sentences, more dramatic pauses, so it flows naturally for a YouTube video narration?